Road workers found a red suitcase on the side of the road. When they opened it, they got an unpleasant surprise. Inside the suitcase was the body of a girl. As it turned out, the girl had survived one of the most brutal deaths imaginable. Valerie Reyes was born in the small town of New Rochelle, New York. She had 3 younger brothers with whom she was very close. Valerie was always bright, funny, and outgoing. She had many friends. Valerie and her mother were like best friends and always shared all their secrets with each other. The girl was very talented. She sang and drew beautifully, and she was also a novice tattoo master, equal to her brother, an experienced tattoo artist. They even dreamed of opening a tattoo parlor together. One day in January 2018, 24-year-old Valerie met 26-year-old Javier da Silva, originally from Venezuela, on a dating website. He fled Venezuela in 2017, fearing for his life after never graduating from college. He moved to New York, where he got a job as a waiter in a restaurant. Valerie and Javier met a few times, liked each other, and started dating. However, their romance only lasted about 3 months. Javier had already offered to move in with her and was thinking about getting married, which scared Valerie. At that time, she was not ready for such a step. However, on January 24, 2019, Javier texted one of his ex-girlfriends claiming that he had caught Valerie in his bed with a neighbor. This was a lie because Valerie could not have been at his house. They broke up and never communicated again, and the reason for the message remains unclear. At that point, Valerie actually started dating another guy. Valerie offered to break up, but Javier was insistent and would not take no for an answer. The guy did not understand why Valerie did not want to continue the relationship and tried to keep her, constantly writing to her and, as if by chance, crossing paths with her in different places. One day in September 2018, Javier called Valerie and said he had accidentally paid with her bank card at an online store. He offered to meet her to return the money. Valerie reacted negatively to the story, believing that Javier was stalking her. She asked her friend to help her resolve the situation with the money and the card. The friend met with Javier, talked to him, and convinced him to stop harassing Valerie. Javier listened, stopped contacting Valerie, and she finally felt calmer. On January 27, 2019, Valerie went to a holiday party with her family, and they had a good time. On January 28th, Valerie came home from working at the store and called her mother in hysterics. She screamed that she was afraid someone was going to kill her. The girl told her mother that she was having anxiety attacks, that she was paranoid, and that she felt unsafe in her apartment because she had heard about recent horrific cases of women being murdered in their homes. Valerie was afraid that she too would be murdered. Then the mother asked her daughter who she was afraid of, and she did not answer specifically. The mother reassured her daughter, and they said goodbye. Around midnight, Valerie wrote a message to her mother saying that she felt much better and that she was going to sleep because she was very tired. This was Valerie's last message. The next day, January 29th, Valerie did not show up for work. This was not like her at all. The girl always did her work responsibly and was never late. She didn't even give anyone a warning. Valerie had been working at the bookstore for about 2 years and loved her job. She certainly wouldn't do this. The manager couldn't get her on the phone. In the evening, Valerie was supposed to come to a family dinner, and she didn't show up to meet her family either. Her mother was very concerned, and because of a disturbing conversation the night before, Valerie didn't answer the phone. They called and texted her nonstop, but the calls went to voicemail. Valerie's family was very worried. They posted pictures of the girl on social media and called all of her friends looking for clues as to where she might be, but no one knew where she was. On the morning of January 30th, the relatives went to the police station and reported the girl's disappearance. The relatives said they did not trust her ex-boyfriend, Javier, and asked that he be checked out more thoroughly. Police officers thoroughly searched her home for clues, but found nothing suspicious. There were no signs of a struggle or a disturbance, but small bloodstains were found on the pillowcase in the bathroom. These stains did not arouse the police's suspicions. They assumed it was just an accident. For example, she might have hurt herself or her nose might have bled, and no attention was paid to it. The police began searching for the girl and requested information from the cell phone company. It turned out that on the night of January 28th to 29th, Valerie's phone had been put into airplane mode around 3 a.m. and was no longer active. Someone had also accessed her phone's iCloud data, looking at her photos, videos, and messages, and examining the entire phone. It was very suspicious and disturbing. It turns out that 2 hours later, at 5 a.m. on January 29th, someone used Valerie's debit card and withdrew thousands of dollars from her account. ATM footage showed a man withdrawing the money. He drove up in a black Honda, withdrew the money, and drove away. Valerie was not seen with him. From other surveillance cameras, investigators were able to get the license plate number and determine that the car was rented by Valerie's ex-boyfriend, Javier, who had been asked to check on the girl's loved ones. Javier then became the prime suspect in the case, and detectives began investigating. Detectives obtained a search warrant for his home, but found no clues there. However, surveillance cameras were found near the house. Footage from these cameras revealed that Javier left his home in a black Honda at 10:50 p.m. on January 28th. During the investigation, police found that his cell phone was in front of Valerie's house. Investigators checked Valerie's cell phone, and it turned out that she hadn't called or texted him in a while, hadn't asked him to come over. But how could he have been there? How could he show up at her apartment at midnight, uninvited? Then Javier puts his phone in airplane mode and is not tracked during that time. At 6:30 a.m., he turns on his phone and is near Harris, Connecticut, and at 7:30 a.m., his phone shows up in Greenwich, Connecticut. It is not until 9:43 a.m. that he returns to his apartment in Queens, New York. This is confirmed by security cameras. Javier was wearing different clothes than when he left home and was carrying a large gym bag. A few minutes later, he leaves without the bag. As it turned out, the night before the girl disappeared, Javier posted an old photo of them together on Instagram. While the police investigated the case, Valerie's relatives put up flyers and searched for the girl, but to no avail. On February 5th, a week after the disappearance, there was a break in the case. Road workers found a red suitcase by the side of the road. When they opened it, they immediately called the police. Inside was the body of a girl. Her hands and feet were bound, and her mouth was taped shut. The girl's shirt was unbuttoned, and she was wearing jeans but no shoes. There was a severe injury to her head. On February 6, 24-year-old Valerie Reyes was determined to be missing. Her family identified her. A pathologist ruled the death a homicide. The girl had been hit on the head with a blunt object and then locked alive in a suitcase. There she died of suffocation in terrible agony. The cops were sure it was Javier, but they had nothing on him except that the guy had Valerie's bank card. Then he was arrested and charged. The girl's card and ID were found in his wallet. When questioned, Javier said he'd found her card and ID by accident in a bar. This didn't sound plausible at all. The detectives told him they knew he had been outside Valerie's house the night before. Then he said, "Yes, I had a lot to drink that day. I may have been there. I don't remember anything." The investigators showed him what had happened to Valerie, and he broke down. Javier confessed everything and began to talk. According to him, on the evening of January 28th, he went to her house at her invitation, and they had consensual rough intimacy. She accidentally fell, hit her head on the floor, suffered a severe head injury, and lost consciousness. He was frightened and did not know what to do. Javier tried to help her by giving her artificial respiration and direct heart massage, but it did not help. He didn't call the police because he thought they would blame him for everything. So he came up with his own plan: tie her up, tape her mouth shut, put her in a suitcase and dispose of the body that way. Then it became unclear why he had to tie the girl up and tape her mouth shut when, according to him, she already showed no signs of life. According to him, he knew the police would be looking for him, so he withdrew money from her card to make it easier for investigators to find him, and then withdrew more money from her card to the tune of $4,350. He threw Valerie's phone off the bridge into the river and thoroughly washed the car, finding nothing in it. He also logged into her iCloud and went through the photos and other documents she had stored. Javier used her thumbprint to access her bank account and credit card. The police didn't believe his story, and he was charged with kidnapping leading to Valerie's death. As it turned out, Javier not only took all the money out of her account, but also took her laptop and computer, even capturing it in a photo. When Javier's roommate asked where he got the computer and laptop from, he said he just found them by accident, which sounded really weird. The roommate didn't believe him, but didn't interfere with his business. Javier's DNA was found both on that red suitcase and on Valerie's body, under the fingernails of her breast and genital area. The prosecution suggested at trial that he was obsessed with the girl. The prosecutor put forward his version of what happened. Javier arrived at Valerie's house. There were no signs of forced entry in the apartment, so he probably still had the keys and opened the door himself. Valerie was already asleep and didn't hear him. When he entered the bedroom, he attacked her and tried to rape her. A fight ensued between them, and he hit her on the head with a blunt object. It caused her to lose consciousness. Javier got scared, tied her up, and put duct tape over her mouth so she couldn't scream and get out. He put her in a suitcase and carried her out of the house, put her in his car, and disposed of the suitcase away from her home. On February 5, 2020, at his trial, Javier pleaded guilty to the kidnapping that led to her death. He regretted and apologized to Valerie's family. His lawyers argued that he was suffering from severe depression due to the breakup with his girlfriend. He had been away from home, using substances, and all of this had affected his condition. Letters from his friends in Venezuela were read at the trial, claiming that Javier was a good man who just snapped and made a mistake. Valerie's family didn't believe his words and didn't accept his apology. The girl's mother called him a selfish, greedy, and soulless man. On September 3, 2021, he was sentenced to 30 years in prison. It turns out that Javier was in the United States illegally. He entered the U.S. on May 8, 2017, under the Visa Waiver Program and was supposed to leave the country by August 5, 2017, but he did not. As a result, he will be deported back to Venezuela upon his release from prison.